Hi, was there an alien holocaust on the planet Mars? Hi, I'm Peaceful Nick the Medium. I'm an evidential medium, and I had the pleasure of being on the JeffMara podcast. And we covered so many subjects, including my scientific background, my work in science communication and education, the planet Mars, my mediumship, and so much more. And there are a few things that we covered that I would like to dive a little more deeply into. So, just a little brief bit of information on what we covered. We talked about my story, my childhood story, some paranormal experiences I had growing up. So, you'll have to check out the podcast. I will link it below. My UFO experience in the state of Missouri in 1995, and shortly thereafter, my alien experience in Daytona Beach, Florida, just a few months later. It was incredible and amazing. Was it a dream? Was I abducted? I'll never know. Right now, I don't know. So, I also followed a scientific trajectory in college with an undergraduate degree in biology and a master's degree in astronomy. And I am a subject matter expert on the planet Mars. And so I feel like all of the weird, paranormal, crazy events in my life and places I've lived and visited have led me to where I am today. I'm a full-time evidential medium who has a scientific background and has had loads of paranormal experiences. You'll have to watch the podcast to get all the details on those experiences. So, but what I wanted to cover a little bit more is, was there an alien civilization on the planet Mars? I get this question a lot because many people know that that's my specialty. So when you study biology and astronomy, someone like me studies what's called astrobiology, meaning literally the science of finding aliens. And so I have worked for a Mars organization for about 13 or 14 years now. And so I've been to many, many Mars conferences, met many NASA scientists and other scientists and journalists and specialists from all around the world, and had many conversations, deep conversations, including with the wonderful John Brandenburg. He's known for his controversial theory about an ancient nuclear holocaust on Mars. So, what is that all about? I followed, let's go back a little to 1992. In 1992, I was attending Harvard on the Hill, which in San Francisco is City College of San Francisco. That's what they call it, Harvard on the Hill. So if you know, you know. It has no association with Harvard. It's just a funny joke. I was attending City College of San Francisco. I was working in a restaurant, and I was up late one night after my shift. And on the television comes, and I already was obsessed with Mars and astronomy. On the television at 2 a.m. comes an infomercial. So I don't even know if they still have infomercials, but they did then. And this infomercial was Richard Hoagland, look him up, and the Cydonia region of Mars, the face on Mars. So we touched on this in the JeffMara podcast a little bit, but essentially the Cydonia region of Mars has some pyramids, it has some structures, it has some interesting geometry, and it has the face on Mars. Now, was any of that built by an ancient civilization on Mars? We don't know yet. Is it possible that an ancient civilization did live on Mars? Absolutely, it's possible. Because we know, with my science background, put my science hat on and take my woo-woo hat off for a second. Scientifically, we know Mars has, in the past, had a thick atmosphere like ours. It has had liquid water on the surface. You can look at photographs and see that there are channels and there's evidence, and we've had rovers there and orbiters taking pictures, and the rovers take samples and we test them. So we know liquid water existed there. John Grotzinger actually said that the riverbed that they found in the Gale crater where the Curiosity rover started out, the water was so pure there that you could have picked up a cup and drank it right out of the stream. So we know there was liquid water there. We know all of the elements for life exist there on Mars. And it is a rocky planet like Earth. And it's right on the edge of the habitable zone, which means liquid water would have stood on the planet's surface, the atmosphere would have been thicker, and the conditions were right for life to exist. Now, did it exist? That's yet to be seen. I believe there is probably life on Mars now. If you look up the Marspedia article, I wrote an extensive research article called, there's a couple of them, Extant Life on Mars and Liquid Water on Mars. They're both on marspedia.org. They're extensively researched. So if you want to know all the gory details about the science, go to marspedia.org and you'll see all the information. So it is possible that there is life on Mars now, living underground in the liquid water that's beneath the surface. Liquid water, if it exists on the surface of Mars, kind of sublimates, well, it evaporates pretty quickly because there's not enough pressure to hold it pure water on the surface. But if you have water on Mars that has minerals and salts in it, it can stay liquid for a period of time. So there is liquid water there. We know that for sure. So that means, could there have been a civilization there? There is no scientific reason why there could not have been. We just have to find proof, right? And so that's the burden of science, finding proof that there was life there. Now, was there enough life there to be intelligent enough to have a nuclear holocaust? Well, that's where John Brandenburg comes in. Excuse me, need a little coffee refresh. So Dr. John Brandenburg is a plasma physicist, and he's worked in several fields from propulsion to space science. He's known for his controversial claim that there's evidence of an ancient nuclear catastrophe on the surface of Mars. And the reason he claims this is because there is a xenon isotope, which is a fancy way of saying xenon with the different number of neutrons in the nucleus than a regular xenon atom. It's a fancy science chemistry stuff. It is a real thing though, and this xenon isotope does exist on Mars in large quantities. This was found by one of the Viking orbiters in the 70s and later confirmed by other missions. So on Earth, xenon 129 that's the isotope. It's strongly associated with nuclear fission. So big boom, right? And so there's a lot of a big signature of that on Mars. So Brandenburg says, yeah, okay, they blew some people up there. Now, there's also radioactive thorium and uranium deposits on Mars' surface, which were found by the orbiters, and potassium-40 and other radioactive isotopes in unusual concentrations. So these things exist normally just a little here and there, but the concentrations, the amount is much higher than it should be on Mars. And so Brandenburg and other people also agree with him, not everybody, of course, uses this very scientific data, and he's got lots of videos on YouTube here. So certainly go watch his words and don't just take mine as a fact. These anomalies in his mind and others indicate that the only way those chemicals would appear on any planet in that abundance was through nuclear fission, through a big explosion. And he believes it would have blown out any kind of life form on the planet, any sentient being, right? So he thinks there was a war there, and they are now gone because of this these xenon isotopes and the other isotopes. So he also points to, going back to Richard Hoagland and the Face on Mars in the Cydonia region, those anomalous formations that NASA says are just a trick of light and shadow, other scientists and journalists believe were built by ancient civilizations. Now, NASA, who some say means never a straight answer, will say, oh, no, it's just, everything's fine. There's nothing to see here. But and they don't do themselves any favors by backtracking on their explanations. So when the pictures were released of the face on Mars, Google face on Mars, when the pictures were released, they were like, oh, that really looks like a face. And so conspiracies and theorists and everybody got all excited about it. And NASA's like, oh, no, it's impossible because, we're humans and we're the best. I don't know if you can hear, I have a big storm right outside my window. So sorry if it's noisy and thundery and rainy. So then there was a big push by the public for NASA to go back to that region. And now, mind you, NASA had orbiters going around the planet for this entire time from the 70s and on. And actually, they sent flyby missions to Mars in the 60s that were overshadowed by the moon mission. So they had orbiters that could have mapped these areas in much more detail. And so finally, they took another picture. I want to say it was 2003, somewhere around there. And they published this picture and they're like, see, there's nothing to see here. It's just a weird formation. It's just shadows and rocks. And look up the cat box picture of the face on Mars and you'll see, I should have popped it on here. Sorry about that. And you'll see it's smudged. It looks like it's stretched out. It's not the symmetrical photo that they published before. It's like smeared and smudged. And the big tell on that was there's a crater nearby that isn't a circle, that it's an oval. And so you can tell they stretched the picture. So was it on purpose? Was it an accident? Who knows? Maybe a little bit of both, right? A happy accident that they stretched it and made it look so crazy. But to me, I was like very suspicious, of course, because I've got a woo-woo hat and a science hat. And so they had to readjust it, of course, and make it back to normal. And they're like, see, it still doesn't look like a face. And I'm like, it looks more like a face to me. So look up those pictures and see the original face on Mars, the cat box picture, because it looks like a litter box. That's why they named it that. And then the adjusted new picture, I want to say 2003, around there. So look those up and see for yourself. Also look up the D&M pyramid. That's DiPietro and Molinar. Those are the two scientists who measured the angles of this 5-sided pyramid. And it's pretty symmetrical and pretty amazing for being a mountain on Mars, which is what NASA calls it. So if these things, if the face and the D&M pyramid and they call this other section the city, which looks like a bunch of buildings that were kind of run down, made in stone. If that was made by an ancient civilization, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool and pretty amazing. Also, some scientists theorize, if you've never heard of panspermia, this is a fancy word for life travels from one planet to the next. Some scientists theorize that because we get about 1,000 pounds of meteorites from Mars every year. And some theorize that life, DNA, can be trapped in these rocks that get blown off planets and land on other planets. So life travels from one planet to the other planet. I personally believe very much in panspermia because I don't believe that we just got lucky and we just were the first life and only life in the universe. I think that's a ridiculous notion to even consider that. So if you look up the meteorite ALH 84001, it's the Allen Hills meteorite. And there was such a spectacular find in this meteorite that President Bill Clinton had a press conference about it. And they snipped the press conference and reused it in the movie Contact. But what he said in the movie is actually what he said about the Allen Hills meteorite. So inside that meteorite looks like little wormy bacteria. And so the scientist who discovered it, I believe, is Dr. David McKay. He's since passed. And he did research, him and his team, for years on this meteorite and got a lot of pushback. So, and that was before we had the Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and Perseverance rover on Mars. That was before we knew everything that was there on Mars, all the chemical elements, minerals that are capable of producing and sustaining life. So I know this is a lot about Mars, but that is my specialty, and life on Mars is what I've been studying for decades, and teaching about and writing about. So if you are interested in more of this type of content, please let me know. It's been a big part of my life for a very long time. Do I believe there was an ancient civilization on Mars? I believe there is no scientific reason why there could not have been. And is it possible? It is absolutely possible. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think there was an ancient civilization on Mars? Do you think there was a nuclear war on Mars? There's a lot of cool stuff about Mars. And don't even get me started on the moons of Mars. That's a whole other crazy story. So let me know what you think. And I'll be happy to make more content about science and mediumship. Just let me know. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to check out the JeffMara podcast. It's here on YouTube. Thank you so much.